Welcome to the show about all things making music, from the creative process and workflow to gear and recording techniques. I'm your host, Brian Funk, musician, producer, Ableton certified trainer, and author of the 5-Minute Music Producer. Let's learn to become better music makers. Welcome to the Music Production Podcast. Jeff Graves is the founder and creator of LuvLang Studios, an online mastering service. LuvLang gives users control and feedback over the mastering process. Jeff and I spoke about mastering and how he created and started LuvLang Studios. Please welcome Jeff Graves to the Music Production Podcast. Welcome aboard. Here we are.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. It's nice to have you here today. And
it's good to be here, man.
Thanks for taking the time. And we've been chatting a bit about this. I can see you are extremely excited about LuvLang Studio. So it's always nice to have somebody that's enthusiastic and is coming from a passionate place. You are a lifelong musician yourself. So it seems like everything you're doing here comes from that perspective. Like you were the prospective client in your past that you're providing for now.
Absolutely. I was the guy with the bag of money going, can you do it? Is this enough?
I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you got into or curious about mastering itself, because as you mentioned earlier, we were kind of talking about our early studio days and going in, and we recorded with a guy that had ADAT machines, and we got to the end, and then it was like, well, now you have to master it. We're like, what? And it was like, well, it'll make sure all the tracks are the same, they sound good everywhere, and it'll fit in with the other CDs in your 5-disc changer. It won't be too loud.
And we're like, do we really need that? It's going to be about another $1,000. I think that's about what they were charging back in the day, and that was like for 10 songs. It was like, okay, so it was about $100 a song. And
it was a little bit of a surprise cost.
A little bit, after, and again, I remember the mixing. It was like, well, how long are we going to, and it's like, well, I mean, you can spend 2 hours, you spend 3 hours, and we would sit there, and this was obviously before, the digital days. So, I mean, we were like helping move faders at times, And again, how long do and it's like, some songs would take longer to mix. And I don't know. Now that I'm older, I'm thinking, well, were they bleeding the clock? I don't know. But
it was also a performance, your mix was a performance. We didn't have all the automation. And I mean, on a lot of my old recordings, when I finally got my own stuff, I would have a notebook at 30 seconds, I got to move this up and pull this down.
Absolutely.
And sometimes there was a guitar on the track that had the tambourine on it because I'm trying to save space.
Right.
So, yeah, it was performance. So you got involved.
Yeah, so, just really getting down to the wire of like, okay, what is mastering? As I got older and such, and obviously, we all have our own DAWs today, right? So, you have that idea and you want to pick up the acoustic and, you want to record a track and you're like, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bass line to that, and then pretty soon you're putting a little percussion and, pretty soon you get kind of a nice little gem, right? This little demo that you've been kind of working on, and you might add a little piano or, strings or whatever. And it's starting to come alive, right? And then so you start mixing it, putting that compression, you start gating stuff, and you're just really throwing in that EQ, and, you're throwing in some, pre on the vocals, and, all this cool stuff to, plugins, and you get this just great sound. And then you play it in your car and you're like, man, this does not sound like what it sounded like in my studio, and so that was just the real break of, what I want to process, because I record for other people, and I want to have that finished product that I can kind of master for them, even if it's not perfect, but at least kind of give them a general master. And then that just really drove me down this road where I just wasn't happy with it, and I kept just tweaking it to finally, I just was like, I need to do this step by step by step, just to make sure that I have all the right components. I mean, I have SSL, I have Neve, I have, really prominent EQs. I have the best of the best in my online platform. And that was really hard to do, because it's all online, it's all web-based. So that was another hurdle, but again, it's done, and with all the mechanism and stuff that I have in place, it's the best platform out there right now. I mean, I put it up against anything, literally.
So
And,
just
and
so
welcome.
people understand, in
And
case they
yeah,
didn't catch that. So you've got this online mastering service. So it's a website where people can upload their
LuvLang Studio.
music, which have been popping up a bit here and there. It seems like every time I upload a song somewhere, they want to know if I want a little master to it or something. And it's just kind of, if you hit yes, something happens and it sounds different somehow. And I've never been able to make any sense of what exactly is going on and why some things sound okay, some things sound really weird. So I've kind of just stopped clicking. Yeah, let's see how that sounds.
Mhm.
But you're given a lot more than that. You've got much more on your platform that makes it more of an interactive experience.
Yes, and I do have three different tiers. We talked a little earlier. The first tier is just a 16-bit MP3. Your second tier is 24-bit. Doesn't give you all the goodies, but gives you some. And then the studio version is giving you the 24-bit. You can change your bit depth. You can change a lot of different things too. So that flagship is probably for more people that are, hey, we worked really hard on this song. We want this to be radio ready. And I built this platform to where I do have things in place that I'm referencing your track to find out what genre, to find out what your total peaks are. I mean, there's a lot going on where a lot of these other platforms just weren't doing. And then I would find out that the user would suffer. And another thing, they weren't giving you any sort of certificate. That was a bother. So, with mine, I'm telling you exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving you a certificate showing you what your song came in at and then what we did to make it sound better. I think that's important. And again, hopefully we can educate people on just the process of mastering so they know when they hit another platform, they go, wait, this doesn't sound as good as LuvLang. And again, they're only doing possibly 6 to 8 processes, I think is usually what these platforms are doing. I'm giving you the option to do 24. So obviously it's a lot heavier. It's a lot more in depth. It's the real thing. And my whole goal was to try to mock Sterling sound mastering. I mean, that was my goal, you know.
Hmm.
And I don't think you can really 100% reach that goal, right? Because as an engineer, you need to have ears. It almost needs to be done by a person, a mastering engineer. So I wanted to give people that option too, Brian. Like, hey, listen, I know we can get really close, and hey, the studio tier sounds really good, but I want to do an album, and I'd like to have an engineer kind of go through these just so the whole album's cohesive, etc. Now, I do have that option on the online to where you can upload a reference track, and then if that reference track can basically be your reference for all 10 or 12 songs. You want to do one reference track for each song, you can do that as well. So there's just so many different options. Now, do you really need those reference tracks? It's going to zero you in a little bit more, but honestly, if you know how to work in EQ, and you have ears yourself, you're you're probably going to do okay, right? I don't know your ears, but I'm hoping that you would do okay. And then at that point, you could possibly master that, burn it, listen to it, and then maybe make some other changes, right? This is just part of that process where I want to make it simple for people. And when they get a finished product, it sounds good on everything. And the big thing is that you're hitting that LUFS. It's hitting that peak of -14. Because if you're over that, they're going to cut it, which that's going to hurt your track. And if you're under it, they're going to have to push everything up, right? That could be a bad thing too, right? And all of a sudden you're hearing artifacts and stuff like that. So it's very important in the digital world that that there is some sort of platform that can really make it stupid proof, and that was really my goal.
Can you tell us a little bit about LUFS? This is another
Absolutely,
very
absolutely. So
misunderstood
LUFS, what
topic.
is that,
Yeah.
right? So 17 BS 1770-4 is the standard. That's what I'm operating off of. I'm not going to get too digital. I'm not going to get too technical here because that's just dumb. So, with that being said, to break it down, that's basically what Spotify and everybody's doing today, right? So all my measurements are coming in at the standard levels, right, of what today's music is actually being played at. Now, you do have an option. If you're going with Apple, it's minus 16. People might say, oh, minus 16, that's got to be louder. It's actually lower. Okay. So minus 14 is actually louder. That's going to be your Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Tidal, probably missing a ton more. That's
There's a lot.
kind of the standard, so to speak. Now, Apple does minus 16. They've been doing that, I believe, since I'm not even going to give a date because I might be wrong.
But there
But
was
for
a
a long
time,
time,
yeah, where
right?
they sort of
Okay.
standardized that.
And then
Yeah, I
Deether.
remember that.
Deether is a different platform and they kind of sit at minus 15. So they're right in between Spotify and Apple Music. So most
And
people
what
are
is that
doing
measuring exactly, Lufs?
that is measuring, all. It's basically the loudness of what people are going to hear your music at. Okay. Now
Perceived
it does
loudness.
require a little bit more than that, but I think that's probably the easiest for people to understand without getting too technical. But the LUFS is really where your track is going to land and where all your peaks are going to sit.
Mhm. And I guess maybe common thinking might be, okay, if I get that number as high as possible, my track will be as loud as possible. But then the
Mm-hmm.
streaming services come in, whatever platform you're using, and they'll adjust that.
Correct. So, it's obviously somebody that says, hey, I mastered your track and oh, it's, okay. And we're going to put it all over Spotify and Amazon Music and maybe Tidal. I don't know. Okay, cool. So we're going to do minus 14 then, because that's going to be where you're going to want it. And, I'll go ahead and master it for you. And then I'll send you a couple, 30-second track, whatever, a minute, whatever, send you a couple rough take, let me know what you think of it, right? Then usually the guy will do some tweaks. That being said, with my platform, you can take it, upload that track, and we'll actually measure where your track's truly sitting at. So if it is over, let's say you're hitting minus 11, minus 12, you can let that guy know, hey, they're gonna crush this, because we're a few off, right? So I really want to kind of measure my song to really get it to minus 14, so we know exactly how it sounds, and we know when it goes, through their whole machine, so to speak,
Hmm.
it's gonna sound like we intended it to sound like. And I think a lot
Do
of people
you,
are mistaken by that.
yeah, do you recommend people aim for a certain Lufs level in the mixing phase? Or is this more something that we can just work on
This is all
once we're
mastering.
mastering?
Yeah, I think at your mixing level, everybody's different. Some guys, save their ears, which is good because you get ear fatigue after a while, which we're all aware of. And some guys, be like, hey man, yeah, for the first hour or two, but then towards that last 20 minutes, I need to hit that dB up, man, because I need to make sure that everything's hitting. And they can usually feel that, right, with their studio monitors, and they can kind of get a feel because this obviously isn't their first song they've mixed. So I think you can get close to that box. And what's really cool is that when you think, hey, I think we got our master or our mix and it's complete, you can just literally upload it into LuvLang Studio and get that measurement, right? And then hear it and play that on the studio monitors and go, okay, this is exactly where it's going to sit when we play it for our people, right? On our whatever,
Hmm.
you're on Tidal, whatever music platform. So I think this definitely gives you a look inside that box of, okay, this is where we're at. And again, with the certificate and everything, we're showing you exactly what we've done to your song. So we'll tell you exactly where it was at and then where we put it. Which, yeah, a certificate showing you that. is giving you that peace of mind that, hey, when it goes through the machine to these other services, I'm not going to get my track's not going to get squashed.
Well, I think that's an interesting part because, and it's one of the first things on your site. You say we teach you why. I think
Very much.
some understanding of what's happening and where we're going. And I think that would probably even help people get revisions and give feedback so that they can get it more where they're looking for it to be, to have that understanding.
Absolutely. And I hear a lot of people that are doing that, and they're way loud. They're normally a
Mm.
lot louder. So again, that's going to be an issue. And if you're not really educated, like I wasn't educated. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Not really knowing. And again, I'm ignorant upon it. So we don't need that. But then I found out later, wow, this is probably the most important. And again, I just, I think you live and you learn. And what I'm really hoping to do is just kind of educate those guys that are really proud of what they're creating in their home studio. And they're just like, man, I just need a platform that's going to give my song justice, right? I don't have $500 or, $300 a song to send it off to Sterling, or I think Apple Records is doing something too, or there's all these different, platforms that, hey, we'll take your song. It just seems like everybody wants your money. And then it's just this black box. And then when you get your stuff back, you're like, either you like it, and then there's no certificate. So again, you're still in the dark. It's just this black box where they're like, "Yep, you're good to go." Well, are you? You don't know. So, but
Mm.
by creating this website, I thought, you know what? If I can educate people a little bit, and we're all on the know, I think it's just going to help them further, and hopefully, I can gain their business. Like, hey, this is a guy that really spent the time to go through each, you know, layer of the mastering part, so I'm not ruining their sound. I mean, I think that was the biggest thing. And I'll tell you what, if it didn't make my song sound better, the tracks that I was uploading or my band, I didn't use it. I looked for
Mm.
another I looked for another EQ. I looked for another uh, gate or whatever, and that was really, really hard to really find the right formula, so to speak, and then put it in the right chain order. There was just so much tweaking that I was pulling my hair out. I mean, 3 years was not fun. Towards the last 6 months, it was a lot of fun.
Mm.
But yeah, until
You start
then,
to
it was
hear it.
just man, there was a lot of coffee. There was a lot. I mean, I think I tried to give up a few times. I don't know if this is even
Mm.
possible. There was a lot of mistakes, and coming from somebody that writes code and trying to come up with that perfect sound when somebody uploads a track, I'm sure you can only imagine. But
Mm.
again, I was hitting hurdles, I was completing them. So then I would start off on the next piece, right? And then I'd fall off again. But again,
Mm.
just creating this process to where it was a sweet flow of 24 features that would actually attack your track if it thought it needed it. And I thought, well, how do you get software to behave like that? That was the hardest. Now, I don't want to give away all my secrets, but
Mm.
I definitely worked on that because that was the biggest thing to me. Because I knew I'm an audio guy. There's going to be audio guys that are going to go, man, th- this is off. Your measurements off. When I do this, it's losing 2.4 dB. And I was running into these issues. Okay, I'm losing a couple dB here. Where am I losing that from? Why is it taking that away? So
Mm.
again, just constant testing, auditing, revisions, you name it, and just trying to get those pieces to line up, and then I would move on to the next layer. And there was probably at least 400 layers, just to be quite honest. I mean, it was a big feat. It was a little painful, man. I don't know if I would do it
Yeah.
again.
Well,
But
sometimes when you don't know how bad it's going to be,
Oh
You go
man, I was
through
just
it,
like, is
if
this
you
ever gonna, and people are like, man, you're still working on that. I'm like, man, it's not perfect, man. It has to be perfect to me because this is the problem I'm running into. So if I can't perfect that, then who am I? Like, what am I doing?
mm,
Right. And so I was sending it off to a lot of studios. Hey man, let me master 30 seconds of your track, man. Can you give me some feedback? People would send me feedback, hey, this is really good. And then I would compare it to like other mastering, like Sterling Sound. That was my big thing. That was like, man, if I can get certain and I created this kind of harness is what they call it. And the harness is
mm,
basically just a whole testing workflow atmosphere. And I would test these tracks on there. Basically, it would tell me where I'm coming up short from like Sterling Sound. And
mm.
again, you're not going to get 100% because you have human ears. But man,
Right.
I got probably 97%. Like there's that three. I think that's where it ended up. Like there was like 3% that getting down to the algorithms and such, that you weren't going to really tweak. No, and you got to be careful when you're tweaking too, because you want to tweak something that you really don't want tweaked, right? So it's just heavy, heavy, heavy balance. Um, and I'm just dying to really hear people go, hey, I've used a few platforms. I'm really ready to sink my teeth into something that somebody really cares about. I'm an audio guy, love to sing, love to play guitar, just instruments. And, I'll pick up a bass, I'll pick up a harmonica. It's fun. And I learned the harmonica just through cover stuff, but just
Mm.
just just having a new instrument, and being able to record something that sounds good. I feel like we have all these capabilities today with the DAWs and that everybody's using. It's just when you
Yeah.
go play it in your car, and it's like, wow. And these guys are charging way too much, man, for what they're offering. I mean, they're 7 or 8, just different features that are gonna make my song sound a little deeper. All they're doing, man, they're just kind of doing the smiley face with the EQ, and that
Mm,
stuff just doesn't cut it in the real audio world.
mm.
And I think that's just really right. I'm really hoping to reach some people, Brian. That say, hey, Jeff, I have that same problem. And yeah, my site's free, man. So I just welcome people to upload your tracks, have fun with it, see where it's at. If you're like, wow, I'm AB in this thing and it sounds 3 times better, purchase a track, purchase an
Mm.
MP3, take it
Well, it's
easy, the
nice you
first
get the
track.
chance to play with it a little, and get a sense of it.
Definitely.
I think the only stuff I've seen is, you know, um, you maybe get to hear part of what the track sounds like and then buy it or not, and that's it. Um,
hmm
then it doesn't leave you with much choice. But
So what I'm doing is I'm actually, when you're completed with the mastering and you've tweaked and you got everything set, you're going to go ahead and export, right? So when you export, that's not going to charge you yet, and that's probably, I should probably have something listed there because probably people are like, oh, I'm scared to hit export. It's going to take money out of my account. Obviously, we don't have any of your credentials yet, right? So there's nothing to take out of. But you hit export, and what it's going to do is it's going to take you to this tier screen. And Brian, that's where that the user has that option to go with tier one, which is the MP3, tier two, which is the 24-bit, not all the bells and whistles, and then tier three is 24, or if you want to change your bit depth or whatever you're wanting to do. And then obviously with all the bells and whistles. So and what you can really do is just hear that. Well, tier one MP3, we can all hear the difference there, right? Well, people, they're tier two and tier three, they have that option to listen to the song that they've went ahead and mastered, and they can A and B just those 2 tiers. And literally, you just take your mouse, hit play on that tier, go to another tier, hit play. When you hit play on that second tier, it's going to automatically stop the first tier and start playing that tier that you've selected. So now you're getting that A and B, A and B. You keep
mm,
doing that all day until okay, no, I'm definitely hearing the difference. I'm hearing it. Because you can hear it. Sometimes with certain tracks, it's very subtle, but you can hear it. And I've thrown many, many tracks in there, and it's you can hear the difference. It's just can you? Do you have those audio ears to where you can, and I guess maybe somebody that's not an audio person, man, I can really barely tell the difference. Somebody else would go, oh man, you don't hear those highs. You don't hear those highs just really peeking through, like really cutting through to like you're getting more of a balanced sound and oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And now when you just do tier two, you don't get all of that, right? Because they're not giving you the flagship, but they're still giving you that 24 bit. And this is what I'm hoping people go, okay, no, I do hear the difference. And again, I'm just trying to hit everybody's budget too. It's not about taking your
Mm.
money. My big thing is solving a problem. And hopefully during that, Brian, I can educate these people a little bit of going, hey, you know what? I'm not a mastering engineer, but using this platform, I definitely know a little bit more about mastering because of all the selections I have to hit.
Mm. Yeah,
We hope.
it's a lot of options. Cool stuff. I'm
And
very
it goes
interested
through
in this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It
Yeah,
goes
go.
through the 24 steps. And then I was just going to add that you can obviously take some of those steps away. I think those are going to be on the right panel. And that's where you'll see if you kind of just go down, there'll be little toggle switches, that you can just, basically
Mm.
disassemble. And, again, have fun with it. You're not going to break anything, but have your ears do the work.
Mhm.
I think that's the most important.
Mm. You've got a cool study about loudness in 2026, and I think maybe we've all kind of heard about the loudness wars of the past. They seem to be thought of as something in the past anyway, where we were making everything louder and louder and louder. Music was getting more distorted, less dynamic. And there's some great videos online that you can see. Um, One that sticks out in my head is "Smells Like Teen Spirit." And there's a certain remaster, I guess they did, where it's so loud that that opening guitar, it comes in,
Ooh.
and then when the drums come in, it's just like as opposed to
Uh,
the original master where it's a bit quieter, and then when the drums come in, they're like boom, 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 boom,
okay.
much huger.
Yeah, I have not heard that. So that's a remaster? Is that like what 25th anniversary or something? Or was
It
it 30
might
years now?
not
Or
even be that long later. It
okay.
might have been like 10, 15 years later.
Okay.
Um, but kind of right when I guess streaming started, there was
Hmm.
all this competition that you wanted your song to be as loud as when you went on shuffle on your iPod. So it was kind of the wild
Yeah.
west of people just
That's
making stuff super loud, but at the cost of the dynamics. And you've
sure.
got this blog post you wrote about the loudness in 2026, and I was pretty surprised to see it seems like it is still going on a bit, where we're still fighting for all that
Yeah,
loudness.
I think we are, and I think, I think you said it yourself real well, Brian, dynamics, right? So when everything's just turned, all the way, and obviously it all started with, the loudness wars and such, and they're like, we have to have some sort of cap, man, because everybody's just getting louder and louder. And
Mm,
this was early, early days. And, obviously you look at your whole, region, it just looks like one full box, right? You're just like,
just the
wow, is there any,
sausage
is
waveform.
there any breathe? Is
Yeah,
anybody, it's just,
right.
there's no dynamics, right? So, with my platform, that was a huge struggle, to really preserve the dynamics. And I think that is the most important in mastering, not just your loudness. And I don't want to get too technical, but people go, oh, what's minus 14? There's a lot to that, right? And with that, you want your dynamics and everything to still have some room, right? And I just think that people lose that. No, no, I just want it, Well, at the end of the day, I think if they could hear the two differences, they go, okay, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Because you want to feel a little bit, right? You want to feel those buildups a little bit or those new breakdowns.
Mm,
I just think that that's part of music. That's part of stuff that I grew up, listening to albums and CDs where they still had that mood. And I think sometimes where everything's just so in your face, you kind of lose some of that emotion. So again,
sure.
that's something that I'm really proud of. It was one of the hardest things is really to maintain those dynamics that you're not squashing. polishing them for sure.
It's a funny, I guess it's like an irony of recorded music that it can only get so loud, right? Like you keep adding stuff and it just hits the ceiling. Where, I mean, if we were in this room, we could just keep turning stuff up. It'll just get
Absolutely.
louder and louder and louder. It doesn't matter. But you have to sort of make these sacrifices knowing that if we can only get this loud and we want this section to be powerful, we kind of need to back it off on the part before. So the
There
Smells
you
Like Teen
go.
Spirit example is so good because that first guitar is just kind of scratchy. It's not the full blown distorted guitar yet. Comes in dirty, and then those drums are huge because that guitar gets to be small. But
Hmm.
when they remastered it to have that guitar, it's already at like peak levels.
Very
There's
true.
nowhere else to go, and everything sounds a bit wimpy when it comes in.
Very
So,
true. And you know, when you're mixing a song, you're only gonna get so much of that thump and that full, I like to call it fullness, you know, that fullness to where it feels like a real song. Like when you're in your car and you're turning it up and you're like, man, it's one of my favorite songs. You want your song to sound like that. So when people turn it up, it
mm,
doesn't sound like crap. It doesn't distort. It doesn't that it sounds really, really good like the rest of your albums do. And I think doing that, that is mastering. And that is something that I was just completely unaware of. I thought it was the recording process. Oh, we're just not recording as good. You know, our mix isn't as good. No, no, your recording, your mixing is great. Your mastering is what takes you from a C level to an A level. Like literally, it should take your song from C level to A level. Like it should reach two different, like, wow, I can hear the difference. Like it should be stupid proof. I mean, it really should. Because what you're doing is you're kind of maximizing all that and you're rounding, you're gluing everything together in hopefully a very measurable way. So when you can A B it, you listen to the A, which is the raw, you're not hearing all that glue. You're not hearing all that force and that fullness, right? That's what the mastering's doing. And that's what I'm really hoping to educate people when they just A and B their track. They're like, okay, this is really what true mastering is doing. And I will say that that platform, whatever song you put in, you're gonna hear a difference. You're gonna
mm,
hear a difference. Now, if it is mastered already, you know, you're probably not going to hear a whole lot of difference, you know. And so it's very important to take something that's not mastered. So I always try to emphasize that, you know, don't don't try to be putting mastered tracks in here. And another thing is that if people try to just put in, I like to call it a turd, Brian. Can't polish a turd, right?
right.
So if you just got this thing and you're like, hey, man, I know it's kind of a turd, but I want to master it. It was just a little something. My levels were completely off, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to load it. Go ahead, load it up into LuvLang Studio, and it will tell you, hey, bad recording. And it will tell you why.
Mm.
Again, education,
Oh, it gives you
right?
that feedback
Oh,
on the
yeah.
mix.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's going to tell you, you should really consider re recording this for this reason. There's no headroom for this reason. And whatever these reasons are, you know, it could be talking about peak values, it could be talking about all sorts of different things. My whole thing is that I didn't want to bury them with a bunch of technical stuff. I just wanted to get them into the ball of, okay, okay, so you're not, yeah, I could, but it's not going to do you any justice, man. Again, we're polishing a turd. So for me to be upfront and just take your money, I could do that. Would I be selling a service? Would I be educating that user? Would that user want to come back? These are the three things that I was like, man, I gotta nail all three of these. I don't care if you like the platform, if you like me. I just want you to go, hey, this guy's definitely got something going on here. And even if I don't purchase all the time, man, what a great reference thing just to upload my track to see where I'm at. You can mix something in your own room and go, hey, I'm going to go ahead and try to master it myself. Now, granted, you don't have near the tools that I have in my platform, But let's just say you're trying to just get a mediocre master. And you get that, and then you obviously want to upload that just to see what sort of target you're hitting. And then it'll tell you, yeah, you could be
Mm,
hitting -11. That's going to be too loud, right? So you want to get it down to that -14, then you might want to go ahead and remix it, right? So if you kind of know where you're at, you might want to, hey, let's turn some things down a little bit. Maybe let's try to add a little bit more dynamics. Just again, we could talk about that for days and days, but mixing is obviously a very personal thing. But everybody has that vision, and I think if you have that vision, you're never, ever, ever going to achieve that in a mix. And I always thought you could as a kid.
mm,
We can hit you. We're just not spending enough time. We don't have an SSL board. We need a need board. That's what we need, right? Yeah,
mhm.
those are all great things. But at the end of the day, you have to master your track. And what sucks is there's no place that you can walk in and go, hey, guys, I'm gonna go down to the mastering store today. We just didn't have that luxury. Um, and I thought, man, today we do have that luxury. And if I can give that 18, 20-year old that peace of mind to keep going, right? Because you can only get so far in a mix. Once you master that mix, Brian, that's gonna, like I said, it's gonna take you from a C level to an A level. Wow. Now you're ready to pop that thing on somebody's PA, ready to play it in your car, you're ready to play it for your friends. Man, that sounds good. They
Mm.
don't know mastering, so they think it's all part of the recording. And I think that's kind of a nice thing. Just when you think your masters, or I'm sorry, your mix, always tell people get your mix to where it's wow, this mix is so good. This is it. Like I wouldn't change anything. Then master it because it's gonna blow you away once you master it. I mean, it's gonna just add all that glue and that's just something I was just not educated on, Brian. And yeah, that's why I was really excited to really, hope to reach some of your followers. I'm not trying to really sell anything to them. Just educate. Just educate. Try to, pop on the platform. I don't know who you are. I don't take any of your information. You do have to sign up with your email address. But past that, I mean, until you want to purchase something, there's no credit card. And I thought that's really keeping my true stance, man, and just really trying to give them those features that I've worked 3 years for, without pissing people off,
Do you have
which you can't,
any recommendations? You certainly can. Do you have
definitely.
any recommendations about how to prepare a mix for the master, as far as like headroom or any kind of processing before it gets put out to whether it's
Um,
on your platform or really anywhere
Yeah, I would
to
say
master?
just when you're mixing something, and somebody is, they're working with DB and they kind of know, um, a mix isn't going to really hurt you, because once you start mastering, that's going to start really putting everything in its place. And then that's what really makes it concrete, right? So now this is, mastering's the icing on the cake. As far as mixing, it does matter. I mean, you obviously need to be in a studio where people are recording at nominal and there's headroom, right? Just all your basic 101 stuff. That's what's going to give you the best master. And that's probably the best answer I could give you with that question. Because people are, we're constantly looking at our meters and to make sure that everything is sitting right in the mix, right? That's the mix. It's not the master. So if you're just focusing on that mix, focus on the mix. Make sure everything's sitting in the bed to where you really want it to sit. And then that's when you're ready for mastering. Hey guys, I think we're ready for mastering. Does this sound good to you? Yeah, man. Maybe kick up that solo just about a half a dB. Okay. I mean, these are the final touches you're putting to your mix, right? When you get to that point, hop on LuvLang Studio, pop it in there, and just A and B it. Okay, man. Because that's going to give you that impression of, okay, this is what our song's going to really sound like if we have it professionally mastered. It's not going to squash it. It's not going to, man, mastering can really mess up a song. it's going to give you that fair handshake. I think that's it's equal to say. And on top of that, we're going to give you a certificate showing exactly what we've done to your song when you're ready to actually purchase it. And that's
Mm,
that's just something no platform really does. It's just big black box. Hey, you've mastered. What do you think? Well, what'd you
mm.
do? You're not going to tell me anything you did? And how do I know I'm sitting at my team, minus 14 or minus 16? How do I know you didn't squash all there's just so many answers that I think mastering people really look at to make sure that they don't do that to your track. So it does breathe and it does still have some dynamics. I just think a lot of these platforms that only have 7 or 8 processes that are dealing, and you're dealing with a simple algorithm. There's no simple button to hit when you master. And I think that's what really comes into effect with a lot of these platforms that are coming out today, where if you listen to it compared to your mix, oh, it's going to sound better, but you don't know what they did. Are they just giving you a smiley EQ kind of thing? Yeah, it's going to sound better.
Mm.
It's going to definitely sound better. You know that, Brian. Oh,
Well,
yeah, no, it definitely
I
sounds better.
I've put a
But
lot
is it
of
the better
them.
you're looking for, right?
I've
Is that
actually felt they sound worse sometimes.
absolutely?
Just kind of, and not really sure what it was thinking, what the
Hmm.
logic was, and I can
Right.
hear it's maybe shrill or maybe now it's really heavy in the bass. I haven't had and you don't get the control, so that's always been the concern
Hmm.
with some of that stuff. You don't get the kind of,
And with the
hey,
digital
this is.
stuff, you're getting artifacts too. So you got to be careful because once you start really turning stuff up, you could, you're getting, you could be getting into some issues, right? So again, just really measuring that mix and just
Do you think there's a
giving the
good
song what it needs.
amount of headroom for a
Oh
mix
yeah.
that you like to have? Like, what do you? I've heard lots of people say lots of different things, but do you have a recommended like amount or
It
where it
really
should be
depends on the
peaking?
song. I mean, it really depends on the song, your genre, what sort of feel are you going for? Um, I would say definitely that's really where it's going to sit. And if you're dealing with a good audio engineer, he's going to give you that headroom, and he's going to give you everything's going to be
Well, suppose
measured
we have
correctly.
our home studio hero, you know,
Home stu,
working on their mix.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
without the
I
engineer.
would. Yeah, I think that's pretty 101, man. I mean, you got to be recording at nominal, right? So it's all, getting a little engineering here, but you're pre, right? So you want to stage gain. You have to get your gain staging correct, or else everything's downhill from there. I mean, that's 101, right? And so once all that gain staging is done and everything is okay, well, now you're tracking. So that's probably the most important is to make sure that everything is set correctly when you're tracking.
When you're
Because the
going in.
mixing and the mastering, all that is just extra layers, fluff, if you
Well, I
will,
think
to make
even,
your track better.
and probably a lot of people listening are, uh, some are probably not recording anything. They might be working completely in the box, synths, VSTs, drum machines,
Okay.
where a lot of that stuff is sort of taken care of already, so that they're not worried about recording the level of their drum machine because it's an instrument within their DAW, which is nice, and I think it gives people a nice starting point on a lot of their work. But what we do afterwards can sometimes be where we go
Yeah, I
wrong.
think even if
Are
you're
we
laying a
running it
baseline,
into
if you're
zero
laying a
dB?
baseline and you clip, you're gonna notice that, right? You're probably gonna
Mm.
have to redo it. I kind of hit that. I hit that a little hard. Sometimes keys are a little sensitive, right? If you kind of hit it too hard or just whatever. So I just think, yeah, if you're measuring all that when you're tracking, whether you're um, you know in a on a digital device or you're doing something through analog. Your gain staging is going to be mint, and that's all part of the start of your recording. But I think people are pretty good with all that. I think the biggest reason for the mastering platform was when people get done with their mix, and man, it just doesn't sound great everywhere. And where do I go? And do I have to go to Lander? Because I don't really like Lander. I want to be able to tweak or what, that was me at least. I'm not putting any company down, don't get me wrong, but my whole frustration was, man, I wish Lander would give me something I could tweak. They don't. It's like hit this, or hit
Mm,
this, and you're done. Like three options. That's it.
mm.
Now you mean to tell me every piece of audio is going to fall under those three presets? No. No. So now what you're doing is you're chaining me to a wall, going, hey, we're not going to really give you a great master. We're just going to give you an okay one. Oh, and we're not going to even tell you what we did to it. Oh, what did I say?
Yeah. I
Right.
guess it's
So
the
it's
AI making
this
those
was,
decisions within those
yeah.
platforms. Um,
And again,
is
they were probably like, this is good enough. Let's just sell it. I wanted to really take people to that sterling sound, man. How do I master something that has quality, that really, really good quality? And like I said, the components and stuff I'm using, SSL, Neve, I'm using really, really good stuff. Really, really good EQs, compression. That matters. All of that
so
really, really
when
does
you say
matter.
that, is it running through um like plugin versions of that stuff?
It's running through my
It,
24 stage process.
and
So
that's
if you get
all.
on the site, you can actually see the 24 things that we
Yeah.
do offer. I think they're listed there. I wasn't going to go through all 24, but
Yeah,
again, just
then you
being
got.
very transparent, Brian, of what we're doing to their track or what we could do.
Mhm.
You as a
Right.
teacher, I'm sure, your students ask you a lot of questions. I was trying to kind of put all that out there just so if they did have a question, most of it was kind of answered. Well, this is what they're doing to my track.
Mm.
These are all good things. They can look those things up and figure out what they do, right? Educate yourself because, yeah, those are 24 processes that no other platform in the world on a web-based can do. Like, it's just not out yet. And I think that was my biggest goal, again, was to really kind of put people in the saddle, you know,
Mm.
without even
Yeah,
knowing.
well, that's nice. When you've worked that hard already on something that's near and dear to you, um, it's
Very
nice to have
passionate
that
about it.
control.
I love audio quality. I think that's really where I'm at is, when you're done with the song, does it sound, I mean, I'm picky, man. I want my stuff to sound as clean and good as like an Adele record. I do. Why can't I achieve that? She can. Why can't I? And I think that was my whole why. There has to be a
Mm.
platform that we can go to that will make my song just sound like it was really mastered, not just masked with a bunch of EQs and such. It's just like just a real high fidelity type master. And I'm getting a lot of great feedback. Things seem to be really going strong with the platform. And again, just really trying to reach other audio musicians and people like yourself, to really get your 2 cents. And would love to do a follow up. Hey, Jeff, we've had 10 of our clients, hit your, and we interviewed them all. We'd love to interview again. We have some questions.
Yeah.
I think this thing will be around for a while. I'm really hoping to just gather more and more people that are really recording on their own that are like, wow, man, you really take my demo from demo to something I'm really proud of, man. And
Mm.
to me that's hard, dude. That makes my heart pump. That's
Yeah.
that's music, right? And I think that's what we all try to create music for that finished process. This is it. And when that finished process just isn't up to par, man, that's a kick in the head. Man, you spent all that
Mm.
time and this is all you got. And then you think, well, where did I go wrong? What did I do? I'm not an audio engineer then. Man, I went to the wrong studio. Oh, I knew we should have used this microphone on my guitar or my vocals. No, 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 no. No. You probably have everything good. It's just your mastering, man. And your mastering could be the most important because when people listen to your track, does it sound great on everything they play it on? Because that's mastering. Anything
Mm.
else is junk. Does it sound great on everything you play it on?
Mm.
And if people can say, man, it does, well, then your song's been mastered and it's been mastered correctly. Pat yourself on the back. You did not get ripped off from one of those other
Mm.
platforms, right? Like you
Yeah.
actually have something that you can go, hey, yeah. And wow, these guys are so real. They even send me a certificate of what exactly they've done. Now, if I go to Sterling or I go to any LA mastering facility, they're going to do that as well, Brian. They're going to give me a certificate of what they've done, right? This is proof. This is our stamp. This is what your song came in at. This is what we did to bring it up to minus 14, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm. It's very cool. You're empowering people to take their stuff to the finish line and be satisfied with it.
And
So,
I think in the long run, hopefully that keeps people recording more and more, right?
yeah.
I think you can only get so far with a mix, and when you're kind of disappointed when you throw it in your car, or your radio or something, I think it kind of takes a little bit of that drive. Well, why would I want to go ahead and mix another song or record? And I think this is the best it's going to sound, and I'm not
Mm.
happy with that. I think that was me. I want
Mm.
something better. All these other people are getting really, really great recordings. How do I do that? And, we went to a professional studio. We paid quite a bit of money, real nice SSL board, all your, Neve pre's and just all the bells and whistles. And we had all of it. It was great, you know. But once that mix was done, it still didn't have that power, and that's just something you get from mastering that I was frustrated with. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to have this mastered. I wasn't happy with it. But once I finished my
Mm.
product, I remastered those tracks. And those tracks, I think, sound really, really good. They're very full. So,
That's
quite an
super cool.
accomplishment, and hopefully some
Well,
people feel the same way. It keeps them recording.
yeah.
That's the ticket.
Well, people can try for themselves, right? You've got you got 'em- the Luf's check that they can check out so they can see where their track's sitting, and you've got um, samples they can hear as they're working and test them out. So no obligation, right?
Absolutely.
Which is really cool. LuvLang.studio, love spelled Luv, lang.studio. I'm glad we got a chance to talk, and I can see your excitement and passion for what you're doing, and it's a very nice
Do you know where
mission
the
you
name came
have.
from?
No, I have no idea.
So when you think of LuvLang Studio, what comes to mind? Anything? Just curious.
LuvLang Studio. Well, love, passion, of course.
Sure.
I no, I don't know.
And I kind of
I
wanted
don't
to
know.
be hidden, but to me, it's kind of
Love language.
there you go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the love for music, and I think
Mm.
love, it's my love for music, is really Love Lang, but I think music is a lot of people's language, and I thought
Yeah.
it was a really appropriate name because this is the final step for something that you hopefully love,
Mm.
hopefully you cherish, hopefully your song has meaning, and meaning to other people. Like, I mean, we can go on and on and on about that, right? And I just think that that language of music, is sits with a lot of people, and I
Definitely.
think it comes from my experience of loving my music, but never really hitting that language of love, right? It's just there was
Mm.
always some obstacle that, well, maybe if you get signed with a major artist, yeah, they'll take care of all that. I'm not a major artist, man, but I got some really good ideas, and my friends got some really good ideas, and man, we got some really good tracks. You want those to really blow up. You want them finished. You can't finish a song without mastering it correctly, and I think that that's really where the name kind of came from a little bit. So I was kind of curious if it was that obvious or not.
Didn't strike me right away, but yeah,
That's good. That's
I
good.
get it now. But I
Because
mean,
you want to throw
yeah,
a bunch of
it's
love in there. Be like, what's he talking about? Love.
no, it's a good thing because
He gonna get all lovey-dovey on us? What's going on?
I don't think there's anybody that gets this far without a love for it. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
definitely. And I just thought,
more
man, love
sensible
language,
ways
right?
to make yourself miserable, right?
Very true.
But cool, we'll
Very,
send
very
people
true.
to LuvLang.studio. Um, Thanks for taking the time to talk, Jeff, and thank you to everyone for listening.
Hey, Brian, I really appreciate the time. And I'll tell you what, if anybody would like to have any questions or, they want to reach out to me personally, Jeff at LuvLang. So Jeff at LuvLang dot studio.
Nice. Thank you for listening to the Music Production Podcast. If you want to help support the show, the best thing you can do is tell a friend, someone you think that would enjoy the show. I'd also love it if you could leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support my work, you can go to brianfunk.com. I've got tons of Ableton Live packs, tutorials, samples. You can check out my book, The 5-Minute Music Producer, which gives you 365 short music making activities to help you get started, stay inspired, and finish more music. And there's also the Music Production Club, where you get my latest releases as soon as they're finished. It gives you access to a community of like-minded people who are making music and sharing ideas. You can share your music, find new collaborators, and participate in our live meetings where we set up some kind of musical challenge and then make music together and share our results at the end. That's the Music Production Club. It's a lot of fun, and you can find that and everything that I do at brianfunk.com. Thanks again for listening to the show, and have a great day.